Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant here with a little dangle, optional little dangle if you like. It uses a small cabochon there on the bottom, and it has kind of a nice big thick frame. And then I attached my cord necklace here at the top. Here's the back. So if you want to see how to make this, just keep watching. So I'm starting out with some really thick wire. I think this is really old. I got it a long time ago, and it's from Monster Slayer. But you can also get it on Rio Grande as well. And this is round wire. It's just round, dead soft, bare copper, and 14 gauge. And so I'm just gonna cut kind of a longish piece. I'll measure it for you, but I usually just eyeball it. Let's do 10 inches. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use this brush right here, this makeup brush, but you can use any kind of object you have in your house, and it doesn't even have to be round. It could be oval, it could be anything, and it definitely doesn't need to be the same size as mine, but mine's a little bit over an inch. Just something that works well with the stone that you want to use, any kind of object in your house. And the reason I'm using it is just to bend this nice round shape. It's just hard to bend it by hand and have it be, you know, perfect like this. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend one of the wires down a little bit, and then one of the wires up a little bit. This, and then I'm going to trim them. I'm going to trim this one a little bit longer than that one. Now I'm just going to take my round nose pliers, and for this top wire, I'm going to try and make just a really nice big loop. I'm just trying to kind of squish down the end of my wire there a little bit. That's the noise that you heard. So big loop, and then this will be a smaller one. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It can be the same size, whatever you want to do with this. But the point is just to kind of finish off these wire ends, and then you can either attach a bail here, or you can just use this as your bail and do a lark's knot with your necklace, which is what I tend to do. So the next step to this is just to hammer it really well. So what I'm gonna use, and I'm probably gonna just do this off camera, I mean, maybe I'll show you, I'll just hold everything up, but then I'll have to do the rest off camera. But I have an iron block. You just need something to hammer on, that's all. And then this hammer is a chasing hammer. One side is flat, one side is round. So just like that, I'm gonna lay it on the floor and just hammer, hammer, hammer everything flat. And then I'll come back and show you, because after that I'm gonna use this round side and hammer it some more. Alright, so it's nice and flat now. I've hammered it kind of all over, and now I'm going to use this round side of the hammer. It's just for looks, to give it some texture. I'll show you. So as you can see, the little portion that I did here just has some nice texture to it. You don't have to do this. It's optional, but I like the way it looks. Alrighty, so here we have this nice round shape, and it's been hammered, so it's got this nice texture, and hammering also gives it strength. So now this is a lot less, you know, floppy. And when you hammer, sometimes things can kind of move out of place a little bit, so you might, you know, need to move things back into place. If your loops opened up a little bit, you can just, use your round nose pliers to close them back up again. But now we're done with this portion. And the next thing we're going to do is grab some square copper wire. And this is 20 gauge. And this can be round as well. I'm just grabbing square. And I'm going to cut myself 2 equal pieces. And they are going to be 12 inches long. Next, I'm just going to take some of this half round 22 gauge wire, and you can either just keep this on the spool or you can cut yourself a little piece to use. And I'm going to take my 2 pieces of the square wire, the 20 gauge. I'm going to put them side by side. I'm going to find the middle of them, and I'm going to put the middle of them on top of kind of the bottom middle here. And then I'm going to take my half round wire and I'm going to wrap it around to attach everything together. So like this. Now I'm just going to trim the ends of that wire, and I'm going to leave the ends here on the front because that's the part that will be covered by the stone that I'm going to put there. Just grabbing my pliers real quick just to kind of press that down a little bit. Press those little ends down. So now it's all set. Now I'm going to take my stone. So my stone, let me grab it for you. And measure it, of course. It's a little Chrysocolla, kind of a rectangular shape. So it's just a smidge over 1/2 inch. So it's maybe like 15 millimeters / a little bit over 1/2 inch. And you can use, obviously any type of stone. It can be an oval, it can be a circle. It doesn't have to be like mine. I just kind of grabbed something small. The key here is it needs to be kind of smallish so that you can, put it here and secure it with these other wires. Kind of a ring size type of stone. And we actually are securing it in a similar manner that I would normally secure a ring. So I'm taking these wires and I'm just kind of bending them around the stone this way. I'm holding the stone with my thumb. And now the other wires are going to go around this way. Okay? Just want to get like a rough idea here. Actually, I'm sorry about that, but I think I'm going to take them out. I don't want them tucked into the circle. I want them to be here on top. Okay, so then here's the wires. They are coming down, 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 and now up and through. So we kind of wrap them essentially. See that? We wrapped them. Kind of like you do when you secure a ring. And then here on the bottom, same thing. Now the stone isn't all the way secure yet because it can kind of pop out the back. There's not a whole lot here on the back holding the stone in place, but from the front it's good. It won't pop out the front. So what we have to do now is just secure it on the back. So I'm going to use these wires here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have them go across the back here. I'm going to put them through the circle so that they go towards the front. And I'll show you in 1 second. So here's my wires, and I basically want to trap this bit here, right, so it doesn't come out. So let me put it back because it's kind of falling down a little bit here. Just gonna put the stone back in place. There we go. So these wires, they're coming from the back. I'm gonna let them kind of go across the back and then to just right here to this side, and I'm gonna wrap them around and bring them through like this. So now the stone is more secure. It's not going to pop out the back or the front. And if you want, you can take your pliers, if it's feeling like maybe there's some gaps or the stone has some movement to it, you can kind of use your pliers to really push the wire onto the stone. All right, so now the stone is secure. And since I brought this wire here and it's on this side, I want to bring this wire here to this side. This isn't like a very symmetrical piece, but I do want to have the wires on opposite sides here. So I'm just bringing that just directly across and then here to this side, just like that. The stone is a little big, that's why it took those few extra steps to secure it. If you had a really tiny stone, you might have only needed to do that first little portion and it would have been fine, but because my stone is big, there's really not enough to hold it here on the back, so I kind of had to do a little extra there. So this next part is really fun because it's basically whatever you want to do. You just have these wires here on the sides and you can do any kind of designs with them. You can do different swirls and loops. You can just wrap the wires around, whatever you want to do. So I'm just making one little swirl with one of the wires and having the other wire just kind of follow it. Now I'm wrapping it around. Now you can see my wires are running out here, so just keep that in mind. If you really want to do a lot of decoration here, a lot of swirls and things, then and your stone is also large like mine, then you might need you know, kind of long wires to make that happen. So just these ends here, what I'm going to do is wrap them around. And then I'm just going to trim them. So here's my little wire ends. You can see them. I'm just going to press them down and just tuck them out of view. Almost like tuck them into this other wire there. Okay, so the wire ends are not sticking up or anything. So that's one side. And it does not need to be symmetrical, so you can do the other side, you know, however you want. I'm probably going to do something similar though, so I'm just going to make the little loop. Bring this other wire along with it. Wrap that around. And you can see when I wrapped, it kind of moved this out of place. So if that happens to you, just grab your pliers and just move it back. All right, so now I'm going to make a little loop. You don't need to, like, if you're having a hard time following this last bit along, then, you know, you can just make any kind of, you can swirl both of the wires together, like I'm doing just one of the wires and then the other one just follows it. But you can swirl both of them, just kind of let the wire guide you, and where it tries to bend, just kind of go with it. Especially if you're doing this for the first time, because it can be tricky trying to maneuver 20 gauge wire. I mean, it's a little bit thick, and even though it's dead soft, it's still kind of hard to bend and still a bit thick. So that's pretty much it. Now the only thing is this, I mean, it's hammered, so it's really strong, but if I try to move it, you can see it moves a little bit. Now it's fine because it's not gonna, you know, get bent out of shape or anything because it's quite thick. But if you're worried about it and you wanted to use your wire to connect this here, make this connection, that's definitely an option of something you can do. So I'm just putting my wire through and I'm connecting them. So I just have this little wire end here. So I just wrapped it around. Now they're connected. They will not move out of place. The only thing is this, I'm just gonna bend it a little down. There we go. Just wasn't looking as centered. And then this here, I'm gonna trim that as well after I kind of give it a little squish with my pliers, and I'll just make a little loop there. So both of those little wire ends, just gonna make a little loop. Just a little loop to, you know, finish off the wire end, and then just one more here. You don't have to if you're not a fan of loops. You can just trim them the way I did here if you prefer that, kind of a more clean look to your wire ends. Here's the back of it. Here's the front. And here's what we have. Now you can kind of finish this off and be done with it, or you can keep adding to it if you want. You can actually fill in this whole portion here by adding different wires and swirls. Or you can add a little dangle to this bottom loop here, which I think I'm gonna do, just to give you another option of something that you can do. Alright, so what I did is I just grabbed a piece of 20 gauge wire, the same exact square wire that I used. I'm just going to make an optional dangle. So I put a bend in it. Now I'm making a little loop. Just wrapping it around. Created a little loop like this. Now you don't want that loop to be too closed. You want it a little open so that you can attach it to here. And now what I'm gonna do, I know, I'm sorry, it's hard to see, there's like so many wires going on now, but I'm just taking this so you can kind of close the loop back up, and then this wire here, you just have to give it a wrap. So now it's attached, and you can put whatever you want on it, whatever kind of little bead you might have. So I just grabbed a random little crystal bead like this, just kind of a greenish one. I'm going to put it on. Now what's left to do here is to make it so it doesn't fall off, right? So I'm going to trim this off. And this little end, so that our bead doesn't fall off there, what I'm gonna do is just squish it a little with my pliers and try to make just a tiny, tiny little loop there. Like that. Super tiny loop. And I squish that loop a little. My pliers there. Now we have a little dangle crystal bead. And in terms of putting it on a chain, so you can just do a lark's knot, which is when you take your chain or cord necklace in this case, and you can put it through this way or this way. It's just a slightly different look. And you take that loop and you pull the other ends through it. So it makes a little knot like this. Here's what it looks like from this side and from this side. So that's just one way to attach. Or you can get some more wire and make like another little, you can make it like a little circle, like a little loop, and that'll be your bail to attach it to, or you can just do it like this. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.